What's going down, people? It's your boy Myer Krah back again with another episode of Here for the Dads podcast. I am so excited to invite you guys onto the podcast today. A lot of people have already seen your names and faces, and for those who are only listening but not watching, I got some guys here from the Daddy Stroller Club, and they're in Dallas. I believe you guys are in Dallas right now, correct?
Correct.
Awesome. But I want to get a chance to introduce themselves. Excuse me, I'm all over my words today. I'm so hyped right now because we already got on the podcast and been talking back and forth. We got a good energy going, and I didn't want to not hit record so you guys can hear. But I'm gonna let them introduce themselves before I trip over my words too much. Calvin, what's going on, baby? How you doing?
What's up, man? What's up? Hey, how y'all doing? My name is Calvin Bridgewater. I'm the founder of Daddy Strollers Social Club out here in Dallas, Texas. I've been doing this for 3 years now. Started in 2021. I have a wonderful wife that I've been married to for 6 years. I have 2 daughters. I have one that's 4, about to be 5 years old. She can't stop reminding us her birthday is coming up. And I also have a 2-month-old, 35 years old. Like I said, man, I started this brotherhood from the heart, and it's just growing, man.
Awesome. Damani, talk to the people.
What's going on, good people? My name is Damani Anderson, also known as my Big Black Therapist on social media. That's who I am. I am the Big Black Therapist of the group. I was blessed with the opportunity to meet Calvin and the fellas earlier this year, and we clicked. It was an instant click. This is something that I'm very passionate about, working with men, working with families, working with couples, working with individuals. So the Daddy Stroller Social Club was an automatic thing for me to be a part of. A little bit about me. I'm originally from Georgia, transferred out here with my wife. We've been married for 8 years, together for 13 years. We got 2 beautiful baby girls, a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. It's a lot of work over here on this side. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist associate that I work here out of Texas to see clients. And then also I'm a life coach and relationship coach as well, which we transfer across the U.S. So that's just a little bit about me. But, man, I appreciate you, Myer, for, once again, bringing us to your platform to be able to pour into your community the best way that we can.
Awesome, man. Hey, you can already tell how hype I am about having this conversation. I do this intro all the time, and I'm like spitting over my words and all that stuff. I had at least 4 or 5 different people send me you guys' like Instagram. It was like, hey, this is dope, Marla. You need to either start something like this, or like this is something I want to go to. Have you thought about talking to these guys? So I've been super excited to try to get you guys on the podcast and just have these conversations. Naturally, it's about just understanding people's passions when it comes to fatherhood. You know what I mean? Like, of course, we get to do the events and we get a chance to meet people, but when you really understand what people's passions are for the space and the reason why they're there, it changes everything. So, like, Damani, you're a marriage and family therapist. My sister is a marriage and family therapist as well. And we have these conversations all the time. Like, she's got a whole nother perspective on everything, and she's done a lot of learning and education when it comes to it. How has your background helped you in the space of fatherhood as you start to meet people and network when you're talking about daddies?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It gives me perspective. A lot of times, and especially as Black men, we deal with so much. We go through so many different things, many different trials. And in our community, therapy is not really pushed. Therapy is not really welcome. And it seems almost like a taboo. So this is an opportunity for me to meet fellas and really connect with them on their level, to meet with them in a different space, in a different area, to be able to process things, to be able to give advice and really learn more about what my target population needs. And that helps me in the therapeutic room because now I'm able to connect and be more competent with my clientele when I meet them, when I encounter them. So this is what this opportunity does for me. It gives me great opportunity, great ability to be able to connect with them on a personal level, and that helps me gauge my clientele when I'm meeting with them face to face.
And I know you probably definitely meet with like a lot of different people about different parts of the spectrum, no matter if it's conflict or not. I know my sister always says, like, I don't get a lot of people who come to me when there's not a problem at all. They normally come to me
Yeah,
after there's already a problem. She said, I would love
yeah,
to see people on a more consistent basis. But I think about maybe some of the people she may be meeting with are normally either probably families or people just having conversations about marriage. Have you had any fathers come specifically to you about just trying to be a better father? And could you see that being helpful?
absolutely, absolutely. I've had a several fathers come in, and it's not even just what I realize with fellas or with men with fathers. It's the space to be able to take the veil off. That's what I like to call it, the veil.
Mm,
The veil, I consider the veil is what us as a community call code switching, where we, when we're amongst other communities, we put on a face, we put on a facade, we have to speak a certain way. Well, that's the same concept with men. As men, sometimes we adopt this role where we have to put on a certain, I have to be this for my family, I have to be this for my wife, for my children, and I don't have a space where I could just breathe. I don't have a space where I could just say, I'm struggling. This shit is tough.
yeah.
Right. And that's what I'm able to meet with them on and give them that space to just breathe and be able to express their concerns, the things that they may be dealing with. And based upon whatever they're dealing with, I can then help them process and provide resources and provide ways to even backtrack how their childhood is indicative to the way that they view their relationship with their own
Hmm.
partner, or their relationship with their children, and how the things that they learn growing up is affecting how they parent now and being able to learn how to balance the both.
Absolutely. And I never try to substitute therapy for anything. I will say there can be some things that are therapeutic. And I know
Absolutely.
some people sometimes try to mix the two, but I could only imagine what it's like having, finding a social club for the first time. You know what I mean? As a father, and you're like, and let's say like they also look like you too, right? That changes some things too, because culturally things can be different, but fathers, period, right? You get to step into a space automatically where you know there's somebody who's been going through essentially the same thing you've been going through in a different way or possibly the same. Sometimes age matters and sometimes it doesn't. If I meet an older father, I know he's at least been where I've been. And if I meet a younger father, we're at the same place. You know what I mean? I think one of the maybe portions that I'm trying to target right now is preparing fathers before they come fathers, right? I think
Yes.
it will probably be more of an anomaly to see some gentlemen get into the fatherhood space before they get there. One, because they're like, I don't want to, it's almost like, I don't want to do that. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times guys shy away from even having a conversation of fatherhood because they're either afraid or they're just not prepared at all. One thing I try to talk to my brothers about, like we're pretty close in age, right?
Yeah.
Um, but I am 32. I don't even know if I'm 32 or 31, and I don't feel like doing the math right now. Once you hit like the certain milestones, I completely forget about my
It's
age.
just
Right?
yes.
But I got a brother who's right up under me, and then I got a baby brother who's probably like 2 or 3 years younger than me. Right? Neither one of them are married, not dating, no kids or anything like that. I recognize that they're watching everything I do. You know what I mean? Especially when it comes to being a father, when it comes to being a husband. And I want to make sure that I'm doing it the right way, but I also want to make sure that I'm sharing the struggles with them as I bring them along, you know. But
Absolutely.
I don't want to make them afraid. I don't want to make them afraid either. I think building this platform has helped me show them that you don't necessarily have to do it alone. And it could be extremely helpful to have other guys around you and to kind of build a council and a tribe. Having the Daddy Stroller, make sure I'm saying it right too, because I don't want to mess it up. The Daddy Stroller Social Club in Dallas. What has been the impression that you guys have seen of new fathers coming into you guys' social club group and just like getting that togetherness and building that tribe? What things have you heard from them and what has that been like?
Man, I've been hearing a lot, man. You got guys that's going through a lot of stuff, and them being able to open up and say that they need a community, saying that they need some type of brotherhood, is always a big step. Growing up in my community, it was always meant for the dads or the guys to kind of hold stuff in. You know, you're a tough guy. Don't let anybody know that that you're hurting, that you're scared, and it always ended up in turmoil. So for these dads and for these guys to come out and reach out, man, I'm going through a divorce, or I'm going through co-parenting, or I'm going through a death in the family. I remember one guy, he ended up losing his dad, and so some of the fellas, they reached out. They was like, "Hey, man, that's because he wasn't from Texas, so he was like,
Mm,
man, that's what can we do to help him out?"
mm,
We came together, man, ended up buying a plane ticket, sent him back home just to be with the family. And he was talking to me the other day, and he was like, "Man, getting through my father's death, he said I couldn't do this without you guys." And
wow.
me not knowing the impact that we're doing, because we're just out there, we talking amongst each other, man. We picking each other up while we're down. And when you're doing that with so many genuine people, you really don't understand where these guys or what they're facing through life, and
Mm-hmm.
just saying, like the journey that they're going on. And for him, man, to kind of reach out there, man, thank y'all for whatever y'all, all the stuff that y'all doing. Thank y'all for the support, man. I couldn't get this without y'all. And I'm like, dang, like experiencing a death in a family and coming to me and saying, "Hey, man, what you built has helped me get through my father's death." Um, I just lost my brother a little over a month ago. And these guys was like reaching out to me. Hey man, let's go get something to eat. I remember Damani reached out. He was like, "Hey man, let's take the kids out. You know what I'm saying? Just get to the park, get some sunlight." And I mean, I done lost my mom. I done lost, close relatives. So I haven't had this community, and I
Mm,
always kind of go down that deep black hole. Because before this, I didn't know how to say I needed help. Me starting this what I'm saying, this nonprofit, this community, it was based off of me needing help, me
mm,
being able to ask my brothers, "Hey man, I'm going through something." I started this. Me and my wife, we were going through postpartum depression, and not knowing that a dad or men in general should just go through postpartum depression, I was like, man, who do I reach out to?
yeah.
And it wasn't a community, for dads in my area. So, reached out to some friends that had some kids and took them to the park. And, we just sitting down there and venting and talking. And we was like, man, this what we need. So for me to step out there and say I need help, that was big for me. But for these other guys that's coming around saying, man, I need help. I just need an ear. I just need somebody to kind of vent to, and them being able to kind of find this space to where they feel more comfortable to do so. I'm like, man, this is a wonderful thing. This is the thing that just keeps me going. Going through a lot of stuff. Having kids. Working. Like, you tend to be like, okay, am I doing too much? Do I need to, what I'm saying, do I need to dial back? And every time I'm thinking that, I have a dad coming to me, man, thank you for everything you're doing, man. Like, been going through some stuff, and man, this is really helping me out. So, being able to help these guys go through deaths, being able to help these guys get through, um, different type of form of parenting, has been crazy. And just to hear these guys, come out and say it's helping them is it's amazing.
Yeah, man, I know it feels good. I think sometimes we forget the power of having that village. Like, that's truly what you guys have created. And I want to say that my grandparents and grandparents before them probably had that closer knit section of people. You know what I'm saying? Where you had the neighborhood and everybody knew what was going on or what you were going through. They may not have been as emotionally relevant or intelligent as maybe we are now today, and the resources we see and use. But as the internet came and social media came, I think we started to separate ourselves from each other more and more. And then you start also getting this culture behind manhood and what we think we're supposed to have and what we think we're not supposed to use. And it just separates us even more. You get so afraid to have conversations with other people about your marriage. So upset. When you go to somebody and you say, "Hey, I need some help," and you're talking to maybe an older gentleman, say, "Man, that's supposed to stay inside your home." And you're like,
Mm-hmm.
well, if we can't figure it out in our home, where I'm supposed to take? Go pray about it. Okay, and then you just suck it in and you try to figure it out, but you're struggling, right?
Yeah.
So understanding that you guys have relational equity with these guys and you're able to use the power together to bring other people in and influence them in a way that they can say thank you, that they can get over those hard, depressive times, that they can go out and reach out to other people and invite them into the group and grow it. And then you got people that's even further away from you guys' community, like me, or people in across the world, across the nation, who are looking at you guys because we have social media, and they go, man, that's cool. I don't have anything like that over here. And instead of saying like, oh, I don't want to copy that, they're like, I want to do that too. You know, and now they get a chance to reach in and they get the chance to tap into you guys, and you can show them how to do it. You know what I mean? And they can start to build that web and that togetherness all together. And Calvin, I know you gave me a little bit of an idea of what your fatherhood journey was like. I want to get a little bit of that from you, Damani, if that's okay.
You breaking up?
Absolutely, man. Fatherhood for me, I would say was godsend. Um, I
Break
grew
up
up
on us.
not knowing my father. Um, I lived with my grandparents. My grandfather was he was my superhero. He was my person I idolized my life after. I mentioned before offline, I'm a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. My grandfather was one. So that's how I got introduced to it. And I know for me, I wanted to be a father. Like I was, I grew up in that era of, where it's not cool or it's not really talked about in terms of marriage and fatherhood and all of those different things. It's just about getting it in.
Yeah.
How many can you get under your belt? And I wasn't that. I can say I was a lover. I was a lover. Like
Ain't nothing wrong with that,
I
brother. I was a lover
ain't
too.
nothing wrong with it. I'm proud of it. Like I wasn't chasing women like that. I didn't really care about having that under my belt. Like I really wanted to create that family because I grew up with my grandparents. So that's all I saw. I
Mm,
saw a father, a grandfather, and a grandmother at 50 take on a baby
mm,
and raise them. Like I saw that community. I grew up in the church. I saw those things, and that's what I wanted. I wanted to model my life after that. So that's what I searched for, and I prayed about it. And when I met my wife and we got together, we prayed to God. If this is meant to be, let it meant to be. Let it be. And he brought us our first girl, and I was definitely excited. I was scared. I was nervous. All of these different things. And I know this isn't this is what this is about. But for me, I was a stay-at-home dad
mm.
for 3 years. So when fatherhood came into me, I took on a large responsibility of it. And shout out to my wife. My wife also, because she worked half 7 days on, 7 days off, so she was also being able to be there as well. But that was a different lifestyle. That was a different experience because I was able to really have a lot of intimate moments with my girls that fathers don't have.
Yeah.
My girls know me. They love me. They care for me, and I'm able to pour into them in ways that I never saw. My grandfather, once again, I love him. I appreciate him. He worked. Once I got into high school, my uncle took over responsibility. So from ninth grade all the way up into college, I lived with my uncle, and he was a working man. But for me, I was able to really be there with my girls every single day. I was able to walk with them every single day. I was be able to record their first moments of all of these different things. And it is such a joyous experience. And I love every bit of it. Like I said before, I'm scared. There's
Yeah.
fear because you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
But
Right.
and parents are just adults who had kids. That's
That's,
it.
bro, say
It
that
ain't
again, dog.
that's
That's
all
it.
they parents are literally just adults who had kids. There's
That's
nothing else
it.
to it. There's no secret formula. There's no secret book. If there was a book that was written, then everybody would be a perfect child. But every
Yeah.
child is different. My 3-year-old and my 1-year-old are two different people.
Completely.
Like
They be completely,
completely
you like, you came from the same people and you completely different. I don't understand.
different. So when I had to learn, especially for me, just growing up faith based, I really you know, put my trust in God. I said, God, you know, you bless me with these children. They're not a burden; they're a blessing.
Mm,
And reminding myself of that every day, and really, taking advantage of the opportunity to parent them, even during the frustrating moments, has been such a it's been such a blessing for me in my life.
Yeah. I think you talk about adulting. You just said that. We just adults just had kids, man. It's, honestly, and you think about some people start earlier, right? They're still kids. Learning how to adult may come a lot faster. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like I had just started my first career and I was joining the Navy and I had just got married and here's number one coming along. Like there's so much I didn't even understand about being an adult, but it made me expedite. I had to. I had to learn about
Yeah.
life insurance. I had to learn about
Yeah.
medical insurance for them. I had to understand what it means when I take them to the doctor and they're having these conversations. Or I never thought I would be sitting at a kitchen table talking about public school versus private school with my wife. I just there wasn't something that I didn't practice that. You know what I mean?
No,
That
not at all.
there wasn't a conversation we had in the church either,
No.
and that can
And on
be
top of that, you also had to learn how to be a husband
yeah, yeah,
simultaneously. And meeting new, and you got now you have a wife who's totally like she's a mother now. So now we have to learn like the different roles and what you view motherhood as, what you view parenthood as, what I view parenthood as. It's all happening all at once.
all at once. And you're like, how am I going to figure this out? And Calvin, I want to ask you. Of course, I don't know how long you've been married and how long you've been doing this. You can add that into the answer as well if you can hear me. How did you find balance and when did you start finding any type of balance when it came to being a father and a husband and just trying to be the best man that you could be?
So
Thinking
yeah,
about it,
we've
I
been
was
married
confused at EA.
for. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can't
Okay.
see you, but I can hear you.
I can see y'all guys. I don't know what's going on, but
No worries.
yeah. But we've been married for 6 years, and we're still trying to find that balance. And I feel like it's something that it's going to be like an everyday thing because you never want to stop learning. You never want to stop being the best you can be. You never want to stop trying to be the best husband you can be. You never want to stop being the best dad you can be. So every day it's going to be a different style of learning. Like, when we had our first child, I was like, okay, you start getting in the groove. I'm like, man, I think we got it. And next thing you know, it's like potty training. You know, you got potty training. You
Hmm.
got you got your teething phase. You got your same thing. We sitting at the table. Me myself, I went to public school. My wife, she went to Montessori, which is like a private school. And at first, I was like, man, I want my kid to
Oh
go to
wow,
public
okay.
school. And then becoming a parent and seeing the difference of it, and just seeing the difference of me and my wife. Like I always say public school teach you how to work. It's 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. And for her to be in Montessori school, it was teaching her all these
Give them a second to
different
come back just in case you're
avenues
still
of just
talking on
becoming
that
the
side
person that
because I
that
can't hear
she
you,
truly
Calvin.
wanted to become.
Imani,
And
can
can
you
y'all still
hear
hear
him?
me? I think I went
So
out.
he's not showing up, nor can I hear him on my side at all.
I
Oh,
went
okay,
out
okay. So
again.
we'll definitely try to probably figure this out
What's
towards
going
the
on?
end. But I want to backtrack just a little bit because you mentioned that you didn't grow up with your father, and I talk about a lot about feeling like you need to be prepared when you
Yeah.
when you get to the stage of fatherhood. But what we both know is that you can never be truly ready. But at the same time, you still come into fatherhood with these preconceived notions, and you still come into fatherhood with this idea, and sometimes this pressure in different aspects and on the spectrum. I want to know what that was like for you. If you had any internal challenges or pressures stepping into fatherhood.
Now, for me personally, my own internal challenges were I don't think I did really because in retrospect, I had already done what my father did,
Mm,
and I felt I was like, hey, I'm gonna make sure I'm here. That was my number one goal.
yeah,
I'm gonna make sure that I'm in my children's life, and that was my biggest accomplishment there. Everything else after that, because I got my degree in social work, I worked for the Department of Family and Children Services as a child investigator for a number of years. I I had a background working with children, mentoring. I did mentors right now, up 15 plus years of mentorship
Oh wow.
experience. So I was versed in working with children. I love working with children. I love behavior science, just the process, and that was something that I was passionate about. So fatherhood, I wouldn't say it came easy to me, but I was more accepting of it
Mm,
and ready to take on whatever is needed in the role. And I think that kind of prepared me more so than anything. So it was more so of the fatherhood of the family being the concept of being a breadwinner, the concept
mm,
of being a provider and protector, and what that really meant. That kind of a challenge that was challenging for me because, as I mentioned before, I was a stay-at-home dad,
mm,
and that got to me for a little bit.
Talk about
That
that. That
that
was my
I
next
had to,
question I wanted to ask you was those type of social pressures, internally,
yes,
externally as well.
yes, I had to. I'd already known that that was going to be the fact. My wife is a medical doctor, so and I graduated from school with a social work degree. So the probability of me, making the same amount of money as my wife and within the first few years of
Mm-hmm.
marriage, probably not gonna happen. And I had already, before I even proposed to her, I had already gotten that in my mind that I didn't think about fatherhood
Mm,
because I was still working and I
yeah.
was still providing. I was still pouring into the family. It may not have been to the status of my wife's, but I felt like, okay, I'm contributing. And what the stay at home title or the stay at home position did for me was for me to find love and find more appreciation to the women in my life, the women out there who are stay at home parents,
Mm,
who to really understand the value of that and not take it on as not worry about societal pressures of being the alpha male, the the provider.
mm-hmm.
When God talks about men being the provider of a home, He didn't put a financial tie to it.
No, he did not.
So it's more so of processing. What does providing mean? It's for so long the world and society, or our culture has told us that providing means that the man works and the man brings home money and the woman does everything else. When let's challenge that. Like let's challenge that process. Let's challenge that mind thought, that thought, and let's really, how can I provide as a man? Well, I'm a lover. I'm a nurturer. I'm a carer. I'm a protector. I pour into my children. I pour into my wife. Like I can do all of these things and take pride in that. And that
Mm-hmm.
was something that I had to accept, and I took pride into it. And I wore it as a badge of honor because, like I mentioned before, I get the opportunity to see my children in a way that I probably would have never seen them if I went on along with the stereotypical male dominant form of household where I just work all day. I would have never been able to engage with them the way that I can now because of that. I would have never understood them and known what type of medicine to give them and know how to answer all the questions at the doctor's offices and
Yep.
be able to schedule things on my own and be able to provide and really have conversations and connect with my children if I didn't take on this role and really live in it and really accept it. So that was my biggest challenge is learning to accept that. But I want to cannot give more grace and more love and appreciation to my wife for understanding that role as well because it takes two.
It
Because
does.
just like society talks about men need to be working all the time, society also tell women that men need to be working all the time and they
Mm-hmm.
need to provide money. And if they're not, then they're not a man and they're not this and they're not that. And for her, that challenged her. She grew up in a home where um, her mother had gotten a divorce early, so she grew up in a single mother home where they said you don't need a man for anything. Like you need to be an independent woman. You need to make your money. You need to do this. Don't hide hide your money. Hide do like all of these things in
Yeah.
society says like, hey, don't share these things. Like you take care of yourself, so don't worry about a man. Don't worry about it. That like so for her to go against what she learned
Mm-hmm.
and trust God in the process, trust me, because that takes a level of trust in me.
Mm-hmm.
It's not her money, it's not my money, it's our money,
There we
it's
go.
God's money.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to utilize that language takes a level of trust, communication, and really a dedication to be able to continue to live life under that realm. So it's been a blessing, man. It's been a blessing, and I think that was my biggest challenge versus just going into parenthood or father.
And Calvin, I could see your head nodding. We both doing the same thing. I think we both
Yeah.
in the same amen corner. I want to know what's going through your head as you hearing the Demani speak.
I mean, when I hear it, man, I agree with everything you was talking about, man. Like, far as, like especially the financial part, like, you figure that out that was typically like make people kind of go separate, you know. I remember like a lot of my friends that was growing up, they always talk about separate bank accounts. And I'm like, that's cool. But, we got joint bank accounts. Like
Mm-hmm.
my money is her money and her money is my money. And I never want to jump into that field to where we're fighting over finances. I mean, early on, man, we got engaged, we got married, and, we were staying in a duplex at the time. And she came up with this plan. She was like, look, let's move one check into, paying out the bills, taking care of everything. Let's move this, your check into a savings account. So for 2 years, man, we was living off of one check. You know what I'm saying? So,
Mm-hmm.
and they kind of helped us bond. We weren't going to restaurants. We were staying at the home cooking.
Yeah.
We on Pinterest trying to learn these different
Mm-hmm.
cheap meals, and just trying to figure out how to save money. And like the dates, we weren't going to, extravagant restaurants and places like that. I mean, we was doing picnics. So we going bike riding. Just doing stuff that was kind of helping us bond.
Yeah.
And then she became pregnant. And she graduated from Baylor. She got a degree. She was working for a great company. And when she got pregnant, like she just kept on going to the hospital. And we were trying to figure out what was going on with her. And I always told her, I was like, look, like, you're a butterfly. You're not made to grow in a building. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're made to kind of just grow with nature. So she got pregnant, man. So I told her, let's move. She ended up leaving her job, and then it was just fully on me financially. And the different things that we kind of learned when we were separating our checks, like we just kept on going with it. But when we separated those checks and we were moving my check into savings, we had an enormous safety pad,
Yeah.
because we were
Yeah.
saving this money. And then, she was like, she also been a photographer. She was like, I think I want to do birth photography. It's like, cool, like jump into it. She jumped into it and she was like, you sure? I'm like, look, like I want you here with me. You were going to the hospital, your ass was acting up. I think she had an elevator troponin. They were trying to find out why she had an elevator troponin at her age. And once she stepped out of that job and started doing something that she was passionate about, something that she enjoyed doing, I haven't seen that girl use her asthma pump since then. We haven't had no doctor visits where she just felt like she couldn't go. You know what I'm saying? Go a day without using a pump or her chest was hurting,
Mm.
and to the point where she's triple her salary just by working for herself.
Wow.
So just for me to kind of grow up and see things done one way and just do them the complete opposite way, that not only just helped us grow as a couple, but it just, it bettered our world. So man, we're out here and she took a leap of faith and she was like, you know what? Like, I want you to figure out what you're passionate about. Because one thing my father-in-law told me, he said, Calvin, we're not made to work for other people. And before I got interrupted by the Wi-Fi connection, I was talking about I was talking about Providence in public school. So in
Mm.
public school, 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, 30-minute lunch break.
Mm.
What that sound like to you? It sound like work.
Yeah. Or
So
prison.
what I'm saying. So I figured that like I was prone to graduate, get a good job, and that's your happiness. She went to Montessori school. to where they kind of told her to come into her own. You know, figure out what you like to do. You know, we're not going to just give you these tests that everybody got to take. You know, we're going to let you test the world. And I think that's what made her flourish and become one of the, you know, one of the best birth photographers. I wouldn't say just not in the state of Texas, but in the world.
Wow.
And I want my daughter to kind of go that way as well because, you know, since she's free. And my daughter is the opposite of me, and the opposite of my wife. She's a talker.
There we
You know, in the grocery store, she go, "Hey, how you doing? And what's your name? My name is," you know, she introduce ourselves, find out their name, find out what their parents' name are, and I'm like, "Dang, girl, stop talking," you know. But but you know, typically in school, they'll tell a kid, "Hey, stop talking to stay focused." But
Yeah.
in her school, they love it. And I was like, man, let me encourage it because not knowing her future and me telling her to do something a certain way can really just alter her future.
Yeah.
So, like I said, man, I'm listening to Monty, man, just to talk about the difference of, you know, going on that different path of just avoiding what somebody else said, and you know, saying just doing what's better for you and your spouse and your kids. I'm like, man, that's what need to be taught in the world, not A, B, and C, but like
Yeah.
what's better for y'all. You know what I'm saying? What's gonna be y'all dynamic? You know, you look at, you know, the man's supposed to bring home the bacon. Like, what happened if your wife make more than you? Will you feel less of a man? And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of these guys are feeling less of a man
Yeah. Yeah.
because, you know, that their woman probably making more than them. Like, or they might feel less of a man because they like cooking. Me, I'm a cooker.
Me
You know
too.
what I'm saying? You know what I'm
I
saying?
gotta throws it down.
Like my, I tell my wife to get out the kitchen in a heartbeat because,
Yeah.
you know, I enjoy cooking. That's something I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
And you know, if we're going off of, you know, what the world wants us to view it, like I want to be in the kitchen. You know,
Yeah.
they all say, you know, I like cleaning up. Like
Yeah.
that's something that I do that relaxes my body, and you know, it's something that makes our house look amazing. My wife, she loves decorating, and
Yeah.
I love cleaning. That's our dynamic.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So,
It's all about
like,
that system
like,
that y'all put together. Like it, I
yeah,
realize as soon as we use these big blanket statements about what fatherhood should be and what manhood should be, it quickly becomes fragile because as soon as it doesn't fit that equation anymore, now you think you're less than a father or less than a man. And what I love and what Damani said is that your wife literally pushed out every idea that anybody else tried to put inside of her mind of what a father and a husband should be. And she looked at you two and she looked at you and she trusted in you and she saw the value in you. And you guys arranged your marriage and your family in a way that it works for you. And plus, you think about a lot of fathers who may fall into either the trap or it's just something that they have to do. Because I don't want to sit here and act like everybody will get a chance to work in a system that they truly want to be in. Because sometimes it just takes time to get there, right? Like you don't always get a chance to work from home, or you may not have a wife who's also working so that you can save and do these different things. I recognize that. But what I do like is that when you got a chance to be home with your kids, and be present, you appreciated those moments and you understood that, hey, there's not a lot of fathers who get a chance to do this. And with you guys having that social club, I think that brings the opportunities for fathers to do that. We always mention those two P's of providing and protecting, but we often leave out that present part. And when guys are always putting in so much into the providing and the protecting, they don't leave enough space for the opportunity to be present. When you guys create those events and those social clubs and they see other men there so they feel comfortable, boom, that's the opportunity to be present right there. So okay, let me go ahead and grab my baby and we're gonna go there. And not only does that relieve your wife or your baby mama or grandma, whoever's taking care of the child, they also feel better about you because they know that you're also getting fed emotionally and mentally, that you're feeling better inside so that you can be the best person you can for that child. We have to heal in those ways and we have to fill ourselves in those ways so that we can be that for our child. And you spoke of it like beautifully, Calvin. You talked about your wife being a butterfly and you guys feeding each other in that way and understanding what your gifts were. A lot of times we don't have on this podcast conversations about marriage when we're talking about fatherhood. I recognize not everybody's in the same situation, but I like to talk about that more because that's the experience that I have. That's the experience that I'm coming from. And my wife and I got a chance to build a really strong foundation, and with doing that, understanding who she is and what she can and can't do, what her gifts are, and her understanding mind, we're able to go back and forth when it comes time to really build this family for our children and build what's around us. And whenever there's gaps, we're able to fill it for each other. I never really understood if we were going to be a team why we would have anything separate at all. If she's struggling, I'm struggling. If I'm struggling, she's struggling. I don't understand how we can't truly find happiness in any other way because we're gonna still be having a gap somewhere else. If I ain't got no money, she ain't got no money. It's just like that. And
We
so
ain't
that
got no
way,
money.
when you build that foundation and things change, you go on that same route. Demanda, you had some. What were you gonna say?
No, I was agreeing. I said we ain't got no money. It
Yeah,
ain't
we ain't got no money.
hey man, we broke.
And,
It's just,
uh,
it ain't what it means.
And when you do that, you really
Call
feel
it
like that
collaborative
team and it's
language.
helpful. You said collaborative thinking is what it's called.
It's called collaborative language. When we're having
Mm,
conversations about in couples therapy, that's what we recognize it as collaborative language. When we're having conversations about things, we include ourselves in it. It's not just an I or a me. It's us. It's we. That
mm,
brings unity. That brings us closeness because instead of looking at a problem, like when I work with clients about, let's say something like it's heavy. Because something that's heavy is infidelity. Infidelity
mhm,
is a very heavy subject. Instead of saying, you did this, he did this, we attack this problem as an issue. So infidelity is the issue. How can we, as a couple, ensure that this does not enter into our house anymore?
mm.
Versus, why is she doing this? Or why is he doing this? Why can't he do this? Why can't he get right? No. Infidelity is the issue. We use collaborative language to discuss it, and we work together and to ensure that it doesn't happen anymore. So yeah,
I love that, right? And I see everything in pictures. So I saw like two people, right? And the conflict's in the middle, and you're trying to fight the conflict, but you keep hitting each other on accident. You're
mhm,
missing it, and you're hitting the other person in the face and the legs, and you're hurting each other. You're not even recognizing that the other person on the other side, but you just tapping them. But then when you take the conflict and you put it out in front of y'all like this, and you both attack it because it ain't got nothing to do with y'all. It's got everything to do with the conflict. You can figure it
mhm.
out. And I think if we teach our kids that early as well, and we use that language with them, instead of pointing that finger and removing the finger, because people get defensive that way sometimes too. People will automatically get
Absolutely.
defensive. And I'm trying to think right now of a way that we can use that same type of collaborative thinking when it comes to helping our tribe and helping our own friends in parenting. I bring this up because as I go on my wife's Facebook or social media, sometimes with stay-at-home moms or maybe talk about homeschooling or just the motherhood community as a whole, they have a lot of great resources, a lot of great people, a lot of great content, and a very strong foundation. But at times, if you are brave enough and you go into those comments, you see a lot of judging. There's a lot of judging. And for some, it may just be the way that they're saying it. But others, I think that they're too afraid to hop in and actually maybe help a friend or help somebody they know because they know how judgmental those spaces have been and they don't know how to have those conversations. Could either one of you maybe either bring up an example or maybe talk about how we as fathers could help other fathers or other men using the idea of collaborative thinking or communication, excuse me? Hmm.
Um, yeah. It starts with this what what Calvin created. It starts with the concept of the thing about any movement. It has to start with someone being bold enough to take the first step.
Mm,
Because a lot of times we are dealing with, especially as men, we deal with these things internally. I don't know how many times I've mentioned something that I'm struggling with, and five other guys in the same circle were like, "Bruh, Me too.
Yeah,
Dang, man. You know what? I got to say, like, thank
yeah,
God I'm not the only person because I was, because whoever is brave enough to say, you know what, man, this is tough.
yeah.
And sometimes it just starts that getting the ball rolling. Like said Calvin say, the stroller club was birthed off of a need. I'm hearing about postpartum depression and that resonates with me very well. I need a space. Let me reach out to my fellas and see if they're willing to meet up. They were willing to meet up and now it's grown into this.
Mm,
And it happens organically. We don't have to force it because there's two parts of this. You have to be willing to express it and express the need, but then the other person has to be willing to listen and
mm,
process and be willing to go. I don't worry about the comment section on a lot of different places because the comment section could be riddled with people who just want to be divisive,
yeah.
people who just want to express whatever trauma or whatever issues they got going on in their own life and they express it and utilize it in somebody on social media. It has nothing to do with me individually. What I look at is the work. I put in the work. I meet up with the people. I go to these events and that community starts to happen organically.
Mm,
Like it's not forced. Like I even I could talk about the relationship with the father that I've had here with the Stroller Club within these past few months. It happened organically. I wasn't forcing it. I wasn't. Oh, let me do. It was like, man, hey, what y'all doing? This okay? Let's meet up. Let's talk. Let's establish. Oh man, this is a great thing. We're moving. We're moving as a unit. So the collaborative language concept when working with fathers is being able to have enough people be somebody be bold enough to express the issue and those who resonate with it come together and we find ways to continue to have that conversation and we just let time, let our efforts, let our work allow it to grow naturally,
mm,
because that's the only way for things to really move in a way that's beneficial and that's lasting. We can
mm,
force a way. We could put a 5-step program in there and do all that. But how long is that going to last if it's not organic? If
yeah.
people are not really resonating with it, or people are just jumping on it because it's hot and because it's
Mm,
cool?
yeah.
That's not what we want. We want something organic. We want something that's going to take time. We want, you know what I'm saying? Like bread take time in the oven. Baby, you can't just
Come,
pop it in the microwave. It don't taste,
come on.
it take, you get the same result, but it tastes different when you put some
Hmm.
time in, when you let it go sit and you let the yeast rise. Like it tastes different because you put
Yeah.
time and effort into it. And it's the same way. Like when it comes down to this collaborative movement, we don't want popcorn. We don't want microwave movements. We
Mm,
want organic things that's going to take time to process and grow so that it can last and it can be more nourishing to your body, to your spirit,
mm,
to what you need in order to continue to move forward.
mm. And I don't know why you did that because it's lunchtime over here and I ain't ate
Dang.
yet. As you was talking, you was like talking about bread. I was like, man, I'm not good at baking, but some fried fish with that, some fried fish with that bread might
That's
be real
good,
good
man.
when it's done. That would be real good when it's done. So thank you for that answer. And one thing I thought about, and I'm backtracking. I'm keep backtracking. I got so much going in my head as you guys are putting this in. It's so much good stuff in here. Yesterday, at the beginning of the day, in my broadcast channel, I reached out to the fathers in the tribe, and I just asked a few questions. One of the prompts that I asked was, name something about fatherhood that doesn't get talked about enough. And there were two that were extremely strong to me. And one of them talked about how old scars and traumas show up again once you start parenting. And that's been stuck on me. And I made a video about it. I started talking a lot about that. But another one that was right next to that I also wanted to talk about, and I'm hoping Calvin may be able to shed a little light on it for this brother who's honestly who's honestly going through something right now. We haven't got a chance to really get into it, but he basically said we don't get to talk about enough how to lead and to do what's expected of a father when they're grieving. What steps should they take? Should they be taking a step back? What's the conversation like? That's just not something that you prepare for, but you recognize life is going on while you still have dependents who are looking up to you to do something. Could you shed a little light, maybe give some words of encouragement, or maybe tell them about the space that you were in during that moment? Because I know he's going to hear this soon.
Yeah. Um, One thing I can tell you, man, is um, one thing I used to do, man. Like I never let anybody see me cry. You know, all the way up until I was 30. Like, didn't nobody ever see me cry. And losing my little brother, somebody that my daughter loved. That's his name is Jordan. She called him Jordan. So Uncle Jordan. So I remember we had to go view the body. We drove back and went to go view the body first. My wife put up a little bit later, brought my daughter in there. And that probably was one of the toughest processes ever because now you have to explain to a 4-year-old about death. And she's seeing them, and I remember her saying, like, get up, Uncle Jordan. And, before then, when I was going to the hospital, she was seeing, him with the breathing tubes in his nose and stuff like that. And she was able to look at him and like, is Uncle Jordan feeling better? And I'm like, yeah. We're explaining to him Uncle Jordan got his wings. And remember, my brother got a friend that looked just like him. So as we're going, through the whole funeral process, and then, we go to a burial site, his friend is walking up, my daughter's walking up, and she ran to him and hugged him and said, hey, Uncle Jordan, you feeling so much better. Every time I was like, I was strong, and my ideal of strength was smiling, holding everything in. And every time I had that, and I'm talking about still to this day, like whenever I'm thinking about them and I just hold it in just because I'm around my kids, just because I'm around my wife, and the thinking that I have to be, strong, she'd be like, where's Uncle Jordan at? And I'm like, dang. And I break down all over again. But me being able to be vulnerable with my daughter, being able to show her that it's okay to cry, being able to show her this process that I'm going through will help her along the way. My wife just lost her nephew 2 days ago.
Wow.
And we just started going through this process with my little brother. And being able to step into a whole nother other process. And I feel like me being open, me showing my wife that I'm vulnerable, has allowed her to do the same thing. So whenever, those spurts come, she don't have to hold it in. She just let it out.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever she got to cry, she just let it out. And I'm like, it's okay. Because I showed her it was okay for me. If I was holding that stuff in, she probably would have thought, let me hold this in because I can't be sad around him because he needs me to be happy. Well, when she saw that I was able to release, I was okay with crying, I was okay with mourning. I feel like it kind of is helping her do the same thing. And when my daughter get old enough and something tragic happens, or death is a part of life. So I've been losing close people since I can remember. I
Wow.
remember losing one of my close friends, my football buddy, my locker room buddy, locker room right next to me at the age of 15, to a car accident. So I know that she's going to experience these moments. And for me to open up, me being able to go view this body, explain to her about things. So now she go around and in her head, not just in her head, but what's right is Uncle Jordan is not hurt no more. No, Uncle Jordan is not laying down no more. Uncle Jordan, she'll say, Uncle Jordan flying around, yeah. I remember I never told my daughter my mom's name. I always said that's Green. I lost my mom when I was 18. And the day that my brother passed away, we was actually in Houston. And I got back, and my daughter, she came up to me. She was like, your mama named Dana? I was like, huh? Me and my wife was looking at each other like, what's she talking about? I'm like, how does she know?
Right.
I'm like, I'm a spiritual person. I'm gonna leave that to God.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, to the brother that's going through it, all I can tell you, man, my encouraging words is to let it out, to cry when you need to let your family know that you have a vulnerable side.
Mm.
So let your family know you have a soft side. Because a man that show their strong side is true strength.
Yeah.
When your family can be vulnerable around you, when your family can be soft around you, when your wife can cry in front of you, when your child can cry in front of you, when they can express when they're being sad. Like that's one thing that I felt like I couldn't do as a child. I felt like I had to show I was all right.
Mm.
That was one of the steps that helped me and my wife through postpartum depression. Because when she was going through it, I was going through it as well.
Mm.
And she's feeling horrible. She's crying. I'm hiding it crying.
Mm.
So in her head, something's wrong with her. You know what
Mm.
I'm saying?
Wow.
So when I was able to express to her that I'm going through this as well, because when she, one part when we was talking, she was like, I felt like I went through pregnancy alone.
Mm.
I was like, I was right there. I'm getting you water whenever you need water. Like I'm helping you up the stairs. Like I'm grabbing these things. I'm carrying all the heavy stuff in the house. Like, what do you mean? She like emotionally, like I felt like he wasn't there.
Mm.
And it's because we talk about trauma. We talk about losing somebody. I just lost a niece and a nephew.
Mm.
You know, my sibling had miscarriages. So I was happy, but I was holding in my happiness because I was bracing myself for a miscarriage.
Mm. Boy, we got to talk about that right there.
I was bracing myself for death of my kids.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, if I get too happy, something tragic is going to happen. So I'm holding, and
Oh, bro, I know exactly what you mean. This
so when I was able,
that don't get talked about enough.
at all,
Ooh,
at all.
that don't get talked. Before we move on to that, I wanted to ask Damani, did you have anything more on what Calvin was saying?
I mean, you hit the nail on the head. What I talk about a lot with clients is that at the end of the day, everybody wants to be seen and heard, and part of that is during our vulnerable moments. He said it perfectly. Like when we hold stuff in, when we act like we got it all together, we feel as if we're doing this for the family, but it's a more detriment to the family, to your wife, to your children, because it alienates them. They feel as if, oh, well, then why am I going through all of this? There must be something wrong with me. And this is the same cycle that happens in marriages
Mm.
when people grow up and they don't see their parents argue. When they don't see their parents, all they see is their parents happy. We could talk about the church. When the church, all we see is great relationships and God is good. Every Sunday, we put on our Sunday's best. So when I'm at home and I'm having an issue,
Mm-hmm.
oh, damn, there's something wrong with us. There's something wrong with this marriage because I've never seen my parents argue. I've
Mm.
never seen my mama cry. I lost my mom when I was 21. That was the very first time I ever saw my grandmother, my uncle, or my father cry.
Mm.
That was the very first time. I've never seen them cry before. I remember after my mom died, a week later, I was back in school. So I was at Clark Atlanta University. I took the weekend out because she lived in DC. We drove up to DC, got her stuff, came back. I started school that next week. Literally like 3 or 4 days later.
Wow.
1 week after that, I was upset with myself because I was still crying and I was still mourning and I was pissed. I remember a good friend of mine. I was in the car and I was just like, I don't understand why I'm still not over my mom dying. I don't understand why I'm still crying. I don't understand why I still can't move forward. And she was just like, that's your mother.
Mm.
Your mother deserves the grief.
Mm.
She deserves you to grieve over her. And anything that I could pour to that brother who's going through it, man, your friend, your brother, whoever that is that you're grieving over, they deserve that. You get the opportunity to be able to mourn. That's a blessing. because that releases things. One simple concept that I like to utilize is the movie Inside Out.
Mm.
As parents, I'm sure we all seen Inside Out. The
Oh yeah.
little girl going through the things with the emotions and all of that. The whole concept of that was showing how significant grief is, how it's needed to birth a next chapter. And what happens is we hold on to it, we suction it down, we swallow it, and we put on this facade. And like we said, that's when we hold on to these. Have these different traumas when we hold on to things like, oh, I can't be too happy because now this is gonna happen. I can't be too sad because this is going, or I can't be too sad because now I'm gonna be, I can't. My whole family's gonna shut down because I'm sad.
Mm.
Doesn't make any sense. It
Mm.
does not make any sense. These are natural feelings. When you stub your toe, you go grab it. You know why? Because it hurts.
There we
You
go.
don't stub your toe and then walk around like everything cool and make a joke and laugh. No,
No.
your body tells you that, hey, my hand is on this fire and it's hot. Let
Mm-hmm.
me move my hand. You
Yeah.
don't keep your hand there to show people that you're strong. No, it
It's
burns.
stupid. It like
So
when you think about the body, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't
it
make
does
sense at
not
all.
make. So the same concept is with is the same exact concept when you're struggling, when you're going through things in life. You don't take the opportunity to act as if everything is okay. You don't act like everything is great and move forward. You accept it, you process it, and you allow it to move. You allow it to process so that you can be better.
Mm. I love that. All of that was extremely good. Like, I can't believe, for one, I say this every podcast, how fast an hour goes. It's like you get into the good stuff right when you get to the hour mark, and it's like, I always feel like we got to run a part two. And I already got a couple notes in my head of things that I want us to talk about. If we can sit down and set up a schedule maybe to meet up again next week so that we can give the people the part two. Because I don't want to leave them hanging on the conversations about old scars and traumas. And I don't want to leave them hanging on that feeling that fathers go through in pregnancy. There's a certain bond mom already has with the baby, right? And you feel outside of that, but you have your own emotions too. And one of those emotions, especially if you've experienced trauma or you experienced death or losing someone before, every time you go to that appointment, you're trying to keep yourself regulated in a way so that you don't experience that loss again, because miscarriages do happen. And you also maybe want to put yourself in a place that you feel structured or stable enough to support your wife, but you don't really know what supporting your wife or your spouse or your baby mama or whatever is going to look like in that time. Because we just finished talking about sometimes the answer is in the question. How do I lead while grieving? Grieve. That is how you lead. That is the answer. I want us to be able to get into a deeper conversation about that for guys who are tuning in to this podcast who are actually going through that. But we won't have that today because I got one last question for both of you guys as we start to close this up. I love, like I said in the beginning, I love understanding what people are passionate about in the fatherhood space, what they'd like to change, why they're here, and why they're doing what they're doing. And I just want to hear from from both of you guys, no matter how far off the conversation it takes you. What are you most passionate about in fatherhood?
Mm. I think the one thing I'm passionate about in fatherhood probably is, I started the community, but time, we talked about the work schedule, our life schedule. You see kids all the time that have something that another kid doesn't have. So, you take two different kids, for example. You have one kid that doesn't have it all financially, and just because they don't have it all financially, maybe, their mother or their dad was at home. So for me, like I said, my mom passed away when I was 18. She was diagnosed with heart failure when I was 6 years old. So my mom was always at home, or she was volunteering at our school.
Mm,
Now you can take somebody else that has everything financially, And the reason why they have everything financially is because their parents is always working. And they don't have that time with their, kids. Now, you might want the new Jordans. You might want the PlayStation. You might want, some of the new clothes that you can't financially have. But having that parent, having somebody there to tell you they love you every given moment, having somebody to explain to you the wrongs and the rights, and just having somebody to go through life with, I found out like that's the most important thing I want to do with my child. I want my child to experience everything she possibly can with me. Doing we had my daughter the end of 2019, so we're going into COVID. Going to COVID, my wife has asthma. So I was able to take a year off paid leave for my child.
Wow.
Now, I was able to, and before then, I was working 15 hours a day. By the time I'm coming home, it's time to eat, get ready for bed.
Yeah.
Spending like 1-2 hours for my child. But during that time I was off, I was able to spend ample enough time with my kid. So I was able to watch my daughter first steps, hear her first words. And if I was working, I'm doing the math. I'm like, I would have been at work during this time.
Yeah.
So every waking moment I can spend with my kid, I'm gonna do it. And that's because I know the difference and I know the benefits it is for a child to experience that with with their parent. My dad worked 2 jobs, so I didn't get to grow up with my dad. Even though my mom, my dad was married until she passed away, my dad was either asleep when I was home or he was at work.
Same.
You know, so now my daughter get home, she know it's go time. She know it's playtime. She know daddy gonna take me to the park.
Yep.
You know what
You're
I'm
gonna be
saying?
a jungle gym as soon as you get to the
Yeah, you
crib.
know what I'm saying? Like me and Damani, we'll get our kids together. We'll go to Cheeky Monkey. You know what I'm saying? Like an
Yep.
indoor playground. You know what I'm saying? Like when people call me, they know I'm gonna have my kids with me,
I like that.
and
I
my
love
kids
that.
know that whenever they home, they have full access to daddy and mommy, and that benefits them. That makes, people, they always said, you probably have one of the happiest daughters I've ever seen. And
Okay.
my wife, my mother-in-law, who was one of those persons where she had to, work. And she, since she's to that age where, she's not working as much she has to. And she see the benefits of our daughter laugh and our daughter smile and our daughter run to mommy when she wants to, run to daddy when she wants to. She was like, you know what? That's something that, you know, growing up I never got to see. And she was like, now I see the importance of y'all spending time with y'all kids.
Yeah.
Now we see the importance of presence. So, not to just, talk your ear off,
Nah, brother, you good. You speaking facts.
but
You
time,
Facts.
speaking
Yeah.
absolute facts.
like just being able to, and when it was just one child, like just to be able to take my child and my wife can take it down or go do what she want to do. Like, so that's my dad flex. Like, my daughter not scared to be around me. I'm not scared to take care of both my daughters. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like, my wife, she had 3 or 4 sessions yesterday. So I was at the house with my 2-month-old, changing diapers, defrosting milk,
There we go. Getting it in.
getting it in, you know what I'm
Getting it
saying?
in, bro. Getting
And
it
getting her
in.
ready, going to get my other daughter from school, having both of them, you know what I'm saying, having dinner. You know what I'm saying? That's probably one of the biggest flexes because I didn't get to see that growing up.
Yeah.
And my dad was always busy. You know what I'm saying? Whether it was work. And now it's like you see the disconnect. Even though we try to bond, it's like we grew all those years apart.
Mm-hmm.
And I want my daughter to kind of grow with me. We
With
have
you.
we have an older dad. Well, he's not older. He just got older kids, man. So he got a 20-year-old, an 18-year-old, and a 5-year-old.
Okay.
And one day my dog was like jumping on my neck. And he said, enjoy that. I said, what you mean? He was like, when she get 12, 13 years old, man, she ain't going to want to be around an old man like that.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Then I saw somewhere on social media they were saying your kids spend 90% of their time with you, you know what I'm saying, until they're 18. After
Yeah.
they're 18, they get to go venture out. I know my daughter, she's probably just like my wife. They going to want to go see the world. And go
Mm-hmm.
see the world, baby girl. But right now, while you in my house, we can spend as much time as possible.
There we go.
And if I can give you time, and if I can give you that experience that I wanted as a child, hey, I'm gonna do it.
Hey man, Damani, talk to me, brother. What are you most passionate about when it comes to fatherhood?
Definitely. But before that, I wanted to sum this up. What he just said up perfectly. Children spell love Time.
Mm.
As simple as that. That's how children spell love Time. And
Mm-hmm.
that was literally that was one of my answers was presence. And that's the same concept of what Cal was talking about in terms of the time that you spend, the moments that you have. So that's one of mine. But the other one that I'm very passionate about is showing my children, showing my girls what love looks like. I'm
Mm.
very, very passionate about showing my children what fatherhood and what a husband looks like and how to love their mother.
Mm.
Um, a lot of times we don't get to see that. You know, my mom didn't marry or wasn't with my father. I was blessed enough to be able to have my grandparents in my life and see that, and I want to be that representation because the difference between me growing up and seeing my grandparents is social media.
Mm.
Social media and the algorithm controls so much of what our children input, so much of what we input in our lives
Yeah.
that we begin to shape that as our reality when
Mm.
that's not the case. So I'm very passionate about showing affection to my wife in front of my girls, showing, choosing my wife over them. Like, hey, I
Mm-hmm.
want to go over here. I'm going with mommy first. Like, I'm kissing mommy first. I'm doing mommy. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm very, very passionate about letting them know, hey, mommy's first.
Yeah.
I love y'all. Y'all are my babies. But I chose this one. And God gave me this one. And y'all are here because of her and because of us.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm really, really passionate about, allowing them to see us loving on one another, us going on dates, us spending quality time with one another, and them understanding that, that's how I should, that's what I want to look. That's what I want. That's what I want in a marriage. Not
Mm.
about finances, not about buying the nicest things and having the fanciest stuff, about the quality time, about the effort, about us having conversations, about mommy and daddy disagreeing, but we're sitting at the table talking about it.
Mm.
Letting them see that, letting them understand what a marriage looks like. So therefore, when they get to that point, if God has chosen that for them, or if they decide to move at that point, they'll
Mm-hmm.
be able to have a good representation or a more authentic representation of what it looks like to help with that expectation. So yeah, those are the two main things that I'm like. So Calvin, yeah, you took my first one, but right up under that is is really about that relationship aspect that a lot of us don't really get to see.
Bro, I'm blown away. Bro, I wish you guys could just step into my mind for a second as you guys are talking, and that's why having community and a tribe is so powerful and is such a needed thing in our society. Why we can't step away from it, and why these conversations are so important. I'm thinking about stuff in my own home, and then how I'm able to try to represent what that love is supposed to look like in marriage for my kids, and see that from a father, and see that from a father, from a husband's perspective. But I also get to nurture that in my wife. She didn't grow up with her father. He was in and out of the home. And I know even when I'm trying to be affectionate with her and things are changing, I'm putting her first. Some of those aspects she's not used to seeing, and I'm healing through trying to represent that in my home every day as I'm trying to be the best father and the best husband and the best man I can be. And man, you guys can write books about just probably 10 minutes of the conversation we had. You can write a book about it. The next 10 minutes, you can write a whole nother book about that. And that's why we definitely got to do a part two, and we definitely got to sit down again and have these conversations. Gentlemen, I love the conversations that we had, and I know guys are truly, truly going to probably listen to this 1, 2, 3 times over, but I want them to also get the opportunity to follow you guys wherever your actual Instagram or social media is, and if they're in that area, to maybe even get a chance to go to an event. Could each of you separately just let them know where they could find you?
Yeah, I'll go first. I'll let Calvin because let you wrap up with the stroller club. But yeah, yeah, y'all can follow me, my big black therapist, on social media, Instagram. I'm on Facebook, www.mybigblackTherapist.com. That's the website. But yeah, definitely follow me on Instagram. I work, like I said, I'm a licensed marriage family therapist associate out of the state of Texas. So I see clients on the therapeutic realm outside, within the state of Texas only. So I do individuals, couples, families therapy. I also do group presentations. I do speaking events, create custom workshops, all of those different things that anybody would need in forms of therapy. That's what I work towards. Some of my main ones are men's issues, couples relationships, and and marriage, premarital, and divorce. Those are my specialties in that area. And like I mentioned before, I'm also a life coach. So I do life coaching, which men's for men and also for couples. Those are my two main areas for life coaching, and I can do that outside of the state of Texas. If y'all have any questions, shoot me a DM. You can go to my website, www.mybigblackTherapist.com, and fill out a form for a free consultation, and I'll gladly be able to discuss whatever issues or whatever things that you may need and be able to provide as much as possible.
Awesome. Thanks, boss.
For me, just follow Daddy Strollers Social Club. That's on Instagram. That's on Facebook. You want to follow my personal page? I'm boring. So you'll follow every like, man, this guy don't post for
He don't
nothing.
do nothing.
Yeah, man. But for the guys that kind of want to, if you're if you're in the DFW, man, follow, check out the website, daddyshouldersocialclub.com. You can sign up for the emails, or email you a map of where we have our next stride at. Right, like I said, right now, I'm about to get ready to start working on these different chapters so we can get outside of Texas. We're also working on a mentorship so we can go into these schools and start, attacking these the younger generation, the ones that's stepping into fatherhood at a young age. And we're also getting ready to launch our podcast next year. And they can kind of give you, the behind the scenes. I saw somebody comment like, man, can you go live when y'all out there talking? But I'm like, for what I'm saying, for that, I always tell people, man, like whenever I'm recording, I never let anybody hear what y'all are saying or what we got to talk about because it is that brotherhood.
Yeah.
But man, I got a lot of dads that's been reaching out that's soon to become fathers. As to join the stride, I'm like, can't join the stride. Just for the safety of the kids, or just I won't let nobody come around without kids around your kids. So just ask for y'all to kind of respect it as well. But we also have like a little group meet for the soon to be dads that kind of just want to kick it with the fathers. Man, we try to set up with small social events for just for the dads. That way we can just kind of sit around and talk. Go play some golf, shoot the pool, hit up some cigar lounges or whatever.
There we go.
Well, man, definitely tap in. Like the money say, we got a therapist right here. I'm a doula, so any questions you have around, marital advice, man, we got there. Any questions you have around trying to be more supportive to your significant other during pregnancy. Don't be afraid to reach out. And we're here to pour into you guys, man. And that's what we're pouring. That's why we like genuine people, because when we pouring into you, we want you to pour into us as well. We're not dads that got all the right answers, and ain't such thing as the right answer. But there's always different ways you can kind of attack things. So we had
Yeah.
one that he asked a question the other day in the group. He was like, "What is gentle parenting?" You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the mind he was able to break it down for him. You know what I'm saying? And the more what I'm saying, way that had just provided more information about it. We didn't have the right answers for him.
Hey, bro,
I
you'd
ain't
be
gonna say,
surprised. You'd be
yeah,
surprised how many people don't actually know. People, we just kind of throw it around, but that's how things work, though. Especially with social media, you get a connotation of something and you build a whole new answer.
Yeah.
So maybe that might be somewhere we need to start next time we have our conversation. We'll start with
Yeah.
the gentle parenting. The title will be "What is gentle parenting?"
What is
plus
gentle
the other stuff we talking about. So,
But yeah,
gentlemen, thank you for hopping on here today, guys. You heard it here first. They got good information. They got good vibes. They got good people in the great tribe. Follow these guys. Ask all the questions that you definitely have, and you'll be seeing them here again soon. Here for the dads. Out.
Thank you for watching. You just listened to Here for the Dads podcast with Myer Krah. I am so grateful that you're here. But if you're new to this space, what I need you to do is slow down and subscribe, share, review, or rate. Whatever you can to help me out, because I'm on a journey to create a space for existing fathers and new fathers that's going to allow them to be a little bit more confident and a little bit more efficient at what they're doing. Thank you.